This will be part 2 of my Outlander Season 7 Episode 12 breakdown titled Carnal Knowledge. As always, if you are looking to avoid spoilers from the books or the TV show, please do keep on scrolling. So after Jamie punches Lord John for the first time, we cut to the title card for the episode, which is Carnal Knowledge, and we see an apple tree with an apple fall and roll towards the camera. This is foreshadowing to a comment Claire makes later in the episode, where she points out that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree as it pertains to Jamie and William. At which point we are brought back to Lord John's home, and we can see Claire, who still has a grin on her face with the knowledge that her husband is alive and that he will come back, because even though he has fled with Lord John, and obviously there are more pressing things happening in her world, she is still in a semi-state of shock that Jamie is alive and came for her, and she knows that he will return. This is different from in the books, because in the books, the immediate aftermath of William finding out is him destroying the house. And William enters the room that Claire is in and asks if he can speak to her about his mother, Geneva. As a refresher, his mom is Geneva Dunsany, who was at Hellwater with Jamie when he was there in season 3, and she sort of seduced him. In the books, it's a little more obvious how she blackmailed him, but she ended up dying in childbirth, and so William's always heard about her secondhand from people, and he grew up with a very vague understanding of who she was as a person, which was influenced by the people telling him about her and what they chose to say with him. But naturally, the goal at this point for William is to try and piece together who he is as a person, and that starts with understanding how he was conceived. And so he asks Claire if Jamie told her about his mother and what happened between the two of them, and Claire says yes. Now, William at this point is really just grasping at straws, trying to piece together who he is and really almost justify hating Jamie further, because he doesn't have the best opinion of Jamie at this point anyways. I think in his mind, he goes into this conversation with Claire hoping that Jamie had done wrong by Geneva, and that the way he was conceived was in alignment with how he feels about Jamie, and obviously he implies Grape, and Claire very quickly insists to him that no, that wasn't the case at all, and by that point he can kind of put 2 and 2 together based on what he's been told about his mother and insinuate what happened between Jamie and her. Now for Claire, this conversation is so tricky because and she points this out, she's still his stepmother, even though now she's no longer married to Lord John. She's married to Jamie still, and he's just finding out that Jamie is his biological parent. So Claire, irregardless, is in the same position with William, and for her to be the one to give him this information it's sensitive, and she also can see so much of Jamie and him as they've gotten to know each other in all these different ways, and so she knows it's a delicate dance because he is, like Jamie, primed to go off at this point because he is so angry. And I just have to give a shout out to Charles van der Vaart, who plays William, because I think he handles, I said this in the last episode, he handles the amount of dialogue he has. It's short in comparison to other characters, so a lot of what he has to convey is through his body language and his delivery of his lines, and he's so emotive, and in those short scenes that he's in, he does such a masterful job of making you feel all of this energy and emotion that readers get a sense of from reading his thoughts, but the show doesn't give him as much time to explain how he feels, and so Charles really has to convey it just in a look, and I think he does that perfectly. And as Claire continues to try and reinforce to William that everyone in his immediate circle was just trying to do right by him, it pushes him over the edge, and his anger just bubbles over completely. Everyone in his life has lied to him. His entire identity is wrapped up in being a lord, and now that has been completely stripped of him, and he doesn't know who he is without the title. He doesn't know who he is without this entire infrastructure that's been built around him being stripped away, and he's left with this man who he has tried so hard to not revere, even though everyone around him is telling him what a great man he is, what a great person he is, how lucky he would be to have him as a father, and he just cannot let himself feel those things. And so obviously this is the aftermath. Claire in the books is watching him react in this way, and she just immediately sees Jamie and how they have the same temper, and this harkens back to later when she emphasizes the point of the apple not falling far from the tree. Their temper is another great example of what they have in common with one another, and Claire is just so kind of devastated that she cannot do anything about his feelings. And also Lord John is gone, Jamie is gone, William is leaving, she is left in this big empty house. And in the books, Jenny Murray has arrived from from Scotland, which they're omitting that storyline. I'm taking it at this point, but she does have other people with her at this point in the story, but in the show they're kind of leaving her alone. And I did love the choice cinematically to have him walk up to the mirror and look at his own face and be disgusted by it, because again, the big emphasis in the books is how much he looks like Jamie. So now anytime he looks at himself, that's what he sees, and it really, really angers him. And when he punches the mirror, we cut to Jamie punching Lord John in the face again, and him rolling down this hill. The man cannot get a break, and at this point in the books, we are in his brain, and he's understanding fully that the way that his life is going to end is at the hands of James Fraser, and so he doesn't think he has much else to lose, and so he almost kind of pokes the bear a little bit by egging him on in this way here. Jamie asks him for all of the details between him and Claire and what happened, and Lord John says no, and you might as well end it all here for me. And that is when Jamie delivers the fatal blow to Lord John's eye. In the midst of their fight, they are approached by this man named Woodbine, who is asking, what's going on between you two? Who are you people? And I did a whole segment talking about this in one of my previous videos about how Lord John gets his eye patch, but Jamie and him don't really want to reveal too much about what's going on between them. So Jamie says that Lord John is his prisoner and is hoping that they'll just pass on his way once they learn that Jamie is a member of Captain Morgan's rivals, but they don't. They keep questioning him. And unfortunately for Lord John, even though he knows that he's not a soldier and insists that he is not, so does Jamie, there's a man amongst Woodbine's group there that recognizes him. And he says that he's seen Lord John sitting out on the porch at his house on 17 Chestnut Street in his full uniform. And again, this harkens back to one of the first episodes of 7B, where Lord John was wearing his full uniform and explains to Claire that he wears it in order to protect the people around him, namely Henry and Mercy Woodcock, because people aren't going to question them if it's understood his status and rank. And obviously that's coming back to bite him, because in his efforts to keep everyone close to him safe, he finds himself in this very precarious situation here. When Woodbine starts to question if Jamie is who he says he is, Jamie sort of realizes that this is a losing battle and he needs to get back to Philadelphia to see Claire. So he basically gives Lord John to Woodbine and leaves the situation as it is. He's obviously not happy about this, but again, he's picking his battles as best he can at this point. So he and Lord John decide this is not the end of their conversation and argument with one another, and part ways. And Lord John yells at Jamie, "I'm not bloody sorry," just to, rub some more dirt in that wound. When Woodbine searches Lord John, they find the letter that he received right before Jamie barged into his room that he was showing to Claire. And it says that his commission has actually been reinstated. So at this point, Lord John technically is a soldier once again. So the irony around the timing and how Jamie comes back into his life and everything just falls apart is monumental at this point for Lord John. I just feel for the guy. Lord John says in the books that he would rather go with them than stay with Jaime because he knows Jaime would end it all if he had the chance, but this is when he starts to rethink it. Come back for part 3.